Hello guys and welcome to another Blender tutorial. This is me Arrow from Artistic Creators, and in this video I'll be showing you how you can create a cool chocolate text animation in Blender. But if you're new to this channel, make sure to hit the subscribe button and the bell notifications icon to stay updated on all my new videos the moment I post them. So without any further ado, let's get started. So this animation is divided into 5 parts. In the first part we'll be creating the chocolate bar, then we'll be creating the text, then we'll be animating the text, then we'll be setting up the dynamic paint for the chocolate wave effect, and then we'll be adding the camera, materials, background and lighting. So let's start. I have a quick scene opened in Blender and we'll be working on this scene. So I'll quickly turn on my screencast key so that you can see the keys I'm pressing down here in the bottom left corner. So I'll be deleting everything except the default cube from the scene, and we'll be using this default cube as our main chocolate bar. So once you have deleted everything except the cube, you press S, X and then 3.5 and then S, Z and 0.2. This will scale the cube to a size of 3.5 by 0.2 in X and Z axis. And now just tab into edit mode and press 1 on your keyboard. You can also press this button on the top to go to vertex select mode. And now what we have to do is press E after selecting the top 4 vertices, and press E to extrude and then press escape. Now we have to type in SX 0.95 and SY of 0.8. This will scale it down by a bit on both axes until you have something that looks like this. Now press E and then Z and then minus 0.2 to extrude it to negative Z direction by 0.2. Now what we have to do is we need to add in some geometry so that when we're adding a subdivision surface modifier later on, it will not damage the rectangular shape of our chocolate bar. So now let's add in some loop cuts. Now plus Ctrl plus R and add in loop cuts on the edges. If you are not happy with the loop cuts, we can do a select a loop by clicking Alt and clicking on the loop, and you can press G twice to move it and position it the way you need. So once you have added the loop cuts, just go to the modifiers tab and add in the subdivision surface modifier. Let's crank the subdivisions from the render and viewport up to 3 and go to normals and enable auto smooth as well. Now let's add in a plane. This will be our surface for the dynamic paint, and just scale by SX and 3.4 and the SY a little bit so that it stays inside the chocolate bar a bit. Now press 1 on your numpad and go to front view, press G, Z and position it so that it stays a bit to the top. And now right click and select subdivide and increase the subdivisions to a number around 50 and then just tab out of edit mode. Now this will be our chocolate bar for the animation. Now let's work on with the text. Now just right click and then select text. Now once you have the text, press R, X and 90 to rotate it x-axis by 90. Tab into edit mode and delete the text and type in the text that you want. I'm typing here artistic. Now tab out of edit mode, press G, X and then position the text where you need. You can go to the character spacing tab and increase the spacing. I'm increasing 1.3 or 1.2 here. And now let's go to the geometry tab and press the extrude, changing the extrude to a value of 0.2 or 0.2, okay, 1.2, and the offset to a value of 0.01. Let's try 0.02 here, okay, and the depth also I'm gonna set it to 0.02. The resolution can be around 6. Now you have the text. Now press 1 on the numpad to go to front view and then position the text such that it lays on Now just right click on the text and select convert to mesh. This will turn our curve this will turn our text to a mesh. And now we have, if we go to wireframe mode, we can see our text mesh. It's not looking good, so go to modifiers and add in a remesh modifier. Change the mode to sharp and the clip depth to around 7. Make sure to uncheck remove disconnected pieces and enable smooth shading. Now if you go check our mesh, it's looking good. Now let's go to solid view to see our mesh. Once we have something like this, go to add modifiers and add a curves modifier. This will be helpful in animating. Now let's add in a curve. It will be Bezier curve, and let's bring it down by GZ and press R, X and 90 and then R, Z and 180 to position the curve the way we want. And once we have our curve ready, let's select the text and go to the curve modifier and sample the Bezier curve. Now if you move the curve, we can see the text is getting animated, but that's not the animation we are looking for. So let's select the curve and press SX and 0.3 and then SZ and 8. Now let's select the curve and move it along x-axis by pressing G and then X and moving it till the text comes in a straight line, in a slanting straight line. Now once it is in a slanting straight line position, now just tab into edit mode, select the end handle as I am doing here and go to the move tool and move the handle to the center. Now just with the move tool, move this edge vertex to the top, something like that, so that our text stays in a horizontal straight line position. If you're happy with the position, make sure it is just touching the surface, which we are going to add the dynamic paint. And now what you have to do is press tab to go out of edit mode and come to object mode. Now let's animate everything. Now to animate it, just select the curve, press GX and go to a position where the animation is just about to start and press I and select location to insert a location keyframe. Now go to the end frame. I will be setting the end frame to about 150. I'm going to go to the end frame and press SX and move the Bezier curve until the animation finishes, and then press I and insert another location keyframe. Now if we play the animation, we can see something that looks like this. Now might be a good time to set up dynamic paint. So let's select the chocolate bar, go to physics properties and select dynamic paint. I'll be setting the type to canvas and go to the surface type and change this to waves. For the damping, let's set the value to 0.3 and for the time scale the value to 0.1. Okay, now select our mesh, text mesh, and then go to the dynamic paint options and set the type to brush. Set the type to brush and then click on add brush option. Now if we play the animation, we have something that looks like this, but if we see it's going downwards than the chocolate coming upwards. So what you have to do is select our chocolate bar, then tab into edit mode, go to mesh, make sure to select everything, okay, then go to mesh and select normals and click on flip. This will flip the normals and the chocolate will be coming upwards. Now if we go to the first frame and play the animation from the beginning, we can see the chocolate is coming upwards, but once you look at it, it's too sharp, not becoming soft. Then just go to the modifiers tab and with the chocolate bar selected and move the dynamic paint to the top of the modifiers by clicking the top arrow mark. Okay, now we play the animation. I'll be just saving the animation for now. Press Ctrl S to save it and be typing a name, and let's just save the animation for now and click save, and let's just play the animation. Now it's looking much better. To get some realism, what you can do is just adjust the position of the surface that we have added and as well as the text to to get more of that chocolate feeling effect, I'll be doing some minor tweaks to adjust it as per your needs. If your chocolate is rising too much, what you can do is just select the chocolate bar, tab into edit mode, and just adjust the position of the top surface that we added for the dynamic paint. That's what you can add. If it is not rising too much, what you can do is tab into edit mode and place the surface just below the text or just touching the text, so that it can add a more fluid in the dynamic paint options. So now we have set up our dynamic paint. Now it's time for the plain camera, our background materials, and our lighting. Now for the background, I'm gonna add a plane. So shift A and select a plane, then just position the plane just below the chocolate bar, and then scaling it up and just moving and positioning it something so that I like to get a good composition. Now let's tab into edit mode and select these edges by going pressing 2 or going to that icon. Now selecting these edges and pressing E to extrude, and then just adding some Ctrl R to add some loop cuts. You can also use the bevel tool to create some edges. I'll be just using Ctrl R and adding some edges on the loop cuts, and then just adding a subdivision modifier, and then just going and enabling shade smooth. Just set up your camera and just find a composition that you like, and you can scale the plane the way you want, or you can position the camera and do stuff like that so that you get the composition almost right. Now what we have to do is going to do with the materials. For the materials, I'll just bring up my timeline and change my timeline to a shader editor, something like that, and go to world and click on this color button, and then select environmental texture. I'll leave a link to the texture I'm using down the description. Press open, go to downloads, and I'll just use this sunrise HDR to light up my room. Let's go to render view to see how it is gonna look like that. You see it's well lit. Now what you can do is go in the shader editor, change it from object to world, and now you have this node setup there. Now you can go to the edit preferences and enable node wrangler add-on to work quickly with the node setups, and make sure to enable node wrangler, and just select this and press Ctrl T to add two nodes, a mapping and a text to coordinate node. Now we can just play with the rotation on the z-axis and get the lighting that we need. Now just go to object and then just select our plane and just add a texture for our plane. I'm gonna select my plane and press new, and then going to add color ramp converter, and then a color ramp, and just adding another Musgrave texture as well, Musgrave texture, and then just press Ctrl T to add a texture coordinate and mapping node. In the Musgrave texture, plug the height to factor and the color to volume in the color ramp. Play with the color ramp settings to get something you like, and I'm likely happy with this. Just adjusting it by tweaking it to get some more variety there. I think this is looking good. Now let's go to the detail and crank the detail up, and just the dimension like a T, and just play with these settings till you get something that you like. Once you like that, let's just play with the colors now. I'm gonna set up the black area to a whitish color and the white area to a brown color. So I'm gonna select this black and set this to a top white there. I'm gonna select this and changing this to a brown. I'm gonna enter the hex code 452A and 1C. That's the hex code for this chocolate brown color. I'm gonna add another color and I'm gonna set this to a dark chocolatish color. I'm gonna sample from the same color and then change it to a bit more dark, and then play with this color settings to get something that I like. You can just play with different settings and colors and choose one that you like, or you can use the one that I'm using here. Okay, now once everything is set in this background, it should look something like this. Okay, now let's go to our text and our chocolate bar, which we are gonna animate. Now let's just select our chocolate material, something like this. Then let's select our chocolate bar, and I'm gonna change this shader editor back to my timeline and just go into the materials tab and change the surface from principled BSDF to a mixed shader, and add in two shaders, a diffuse and a glossy shader. Now let's go to the roughness and change the roughness on both the shaders to 0, and let's go to the factor and change this to 0.75. Let's set the roughness of the glossy to 0.25 and set the factor to 0.75. Now for the Xcode of the color for both, I'm going to type in the same color that we used, 452A and 1C. That's the Xcode. Okay, type in, and it's going to sample this color. We have something that looks like that. Now what you have to do is click on this button near the factor and go to the top, and under layer weight select facing. Okay, this will enable the areas to interact with the light and to behave like original or real chocolate bar does. Okay, now that we have our composition and everything set, now what we have to do is set up our camera. I'm just gonna adjust the cameras and minor tweaking, and we can just go to our render settings and adjust everything and stuff. Now I'll be adjusting my camera to get a composition that I like the most. I think I'm kind of liking this. Once you're happy with the step, what you can do is just go to the render settings and enable ambient occlusion. Bloom is not necessary, but I think I can use bloom, and in post protection I think I can adjust the settings again. and I'm be using bloom and then screen space reflections, and I'll be enabling motion blur. For shadows, you can set this to soft shadows. Go to film and enable transparent as well, and go to color management settings and select a setting that you like. Personally I like to go with medium high contrast or medium contrast, and it's entirely personal choice. You can also change this from film or standard. Okay, once everything is set, just go to the output properties, and what you gotta do is specify astro output location for your file. I'll be creating a new folder and saving it. You can export it in a PNG format or MPEG-4 video format. I like to export it in PNG format because the frames will get exported, and if something crashes or happens bad, I'll just have to start from the remaining frames. So let's go set the camera, go to camera settings, enable depth of field, just focus on the text so that we get depth of field and a soft blur on the background. So once that's set, I will be adjusting the f-stop value, and just now all left is to render. Now go to render tab and press render animation. Now everything is rendered. It should look something like this, and that's pretty much it, guys. You can create funky animations, and if you create anyone, just tag me in Instagram or Facebook or whatever you like. I'll be leaving a link to all my social accounts in the description, and thank you for keeping supporting me, and please do like the video and comment on what you think about the video and any suggestions on how to improve my video or any other tutorials that you want me to do in the future videos. So thank you guys, and stay home and stay safe.